How we doing today, boys and girls? This is IronWings3187 coming at you with another review. Today we will be discussing one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite rifle that I own. I say that about a couple of designs, but this has probably got to be it. And I think this is going to be actually, instead of another Iron Wings reviews, this is another Storytime with Iron Wings video. This will be what replaces my Victorinox Solo ALOX review. And this will probably be the only firearm in my Storytime with Iron Wings review. Storytime with Iron Wings series, sorry. So this is, as anyone with firearms experience is able to see, a Marlin Model 60. This is actually a unicorn of a Model 60 because this was made in 1985, which means it has the manual bolt hold, manual and automatic bolt hold open. And it still has the 18-shot capacity tube magazine. This is actually considered one of, if not the most desirable Marlin Model 60s because of that combination of features, and because it was before Marlin got bought by Remington. It's still considered a very high-quality, well-built firearm. So, with that being said, why is this a Storytime with Iron Wings video, especially when this is just a ratty, beat-up 22? Well, my friends, this is actually the first rifle I ever shot. Mine, this is not the very first rifle I ever shot. That belongs to an uncle who is long out of contact with me. It's busted beyond all condition, repair, anything like that. So, when I was about 8 or 9, my uncle and a couple of his friends took my dad, my sister, and I out shooting. My sister and I all sat in the back of a pickup truck, an old Dodge my grandparents owned and had lent my uncle, sorry. And I think the main reason they went out shooting was my uncle had inherited oh God, what was it? I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Serbu 50 single shot, a 50 BMG single shot rifle barrel and lower assembly from a friend of his. This is right before the California ban on such rifles, so he managed to get in and register it in time to make it legal to sell and own in California. So he went out, he bought an AR lower, I think is what my dad told me, in order to shoot the thing, and they went out to test this after my uncle bolted this lower receiver to it, and there's a lot of shady stuff I don't really remember, and my dad, because he's not a gun guy, also doesn't remember, so it might not have even been a Serbu. It could have been something similar to that in construction, because, you know, who doesn't want an ad hoc 50 BMG right next to their face? But my sister and I both got to shoot off a gun. I think my sister shot a Glock 9mm. I think, from what I can remember, I shot this as the first rifle I ever shot. And my uncle loaded up a few rounds. I shot one, and then I kept pulling the trigger and basically unloaded a tube of like 5 or 10 rounds, where my sister only shot one 9mm round out of that Glock. Shortly after that, there was an ND because my dad and uncle were loading the 50, weren't fully prepared for it to shoot, cocked the hammer, and something happened where I think, from what my dad told me, the trigger spring on the AR-15 lower snapped, sent the hammer forward, and set off a 50 right in front of their face. And from what my dad tells me, I was about 15 yards to the left of the muzzle, just barely. If I had been right next to them, I would have either gotten hit by the blast of that muzzle, or, you know, he was worried, what if I had been in front of the muzzle? So with that, my uncle packed up the gear, we all left, and I don't think I went shooting until I was almost 12 or 13 after that, because my mother was so freaked out by that event. So, the Marlin Model 60 has long held a special place in my heart just because it's the first rifle I ever shot. It is just a 22 long rifle and long rifle only. I have tried shooting longs in it, and it will not function properly, as almost anyone would tell you. That is no surprise. This one is a little bit ratty or beat up, and that's just because I bought it used from a local gun shop. I bought, I think I paid $100 for this rifle. And when I got it, it was just completely coated in rust. You can still see down here on the tube magazine, it is completely unblued because the rust ate and pitted into the tube. I didn't care. I slapped down the $100 for it because in my area these don't ever come up for sale used, let alone new. So I had to have it. And this is still one of my favorite rifles to go plinking and shooting with at the range. And I think it's going to be one of those guns where I just never sell it. One, because I'd never really get my money out of it for that $100. Because these things are so commonplace, I think if I ever tried to resell it, I'd probably only get 50 or 75. And two, it just has more sentimental value to me than that. Because, like I said, this really was the first... And this was kind of the gun that got me started down that rabbit hole of firearm collecting and shooting. You could also argue that the Winchester 1887 from Terminator 2 got me down that road, but I think given this was the first rifle I shot, this really kind of started it. So, would I buy one of these? Well, they're still in modern production, and since Ruger just took over the production of them, I don't know if they'd be incentivized to bring back the Model 60 and Papoose line, given they produce the 1022 line as well. Less competition in that marketplace is always good, especially in 22s where, you know, how many 22s do you really need? A lot of people like collecting 22s exclusively, but to other people, farmers, middle Americans, the 22 is just kind of a squirrel or crow gun. This, I guarantee you, used to be a rancher's crow gun with the way it's been used and abused. So, would I pick one of them up? Yeah. Given that Ruger has bought out the Marlin manufacturing rights, I'd say it'd be a safe bet to try and get one of these while you can if they're used, because we don't know yet if Ruger's going to bring them back or not. And beyond that, they're just a fun rifle to shoot. Yeah, there's a little bit of an issue when it comes to loading because you, as I'm sure you've seen, pull the tube out, load, ram it home, secure it in place, tighten down that a little bit, and then if you go to unload, I'm not going to show it because I don't fancy accidentally blowing my fingertips off from negligence or an accident. You can dump the rounds out, and if you aren't paying attention, you put this back into the rifle, slam that home, secure it, let it go, and because a round might get stuck on this elevator, if you just sent that home and pull the trigger, you're going to have a live round in the chamber, which is never a good thing. So, would I pick one of these up despite some of the flaws that come with it? I would say absolutely. It's just a blast to shoot. It's very fun. And it's extremely reliable if you find the ammunition it likes. It is a little picky, but not nearly as much as Ruger 1022s in my experience. So, with that out of the way, thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and pick one of these up if you like it. You're not going to regret it for the price. Otherwise, this is Iron Wings 3187 signing off.